All right, smoking a brisket on the Traeger. I've been doing this for a while now. I got a pretty good system. I get a lot of questions in my DMs asking just basic questions. So I'm going to throw down a quick tutorial from start to finish, starting off with a 20-pound brisket. I won't bore you with the full prep. What I will do is round off the end part because that flat can be really thin, and so you kind of want to cut it back. You know, I know people are like, oh man, you're wasting it. Well, you could grind that up, keep it. You don't have to throw it away, but you definitely want to remove the really thin part of the flat because it will overcook anyway. So once it's rounded off, you can see I clean the top side with any fat and silver skin. That way the bark can develop, and then on the other side, it's kind of thin out that fat cap to about a 1/4 inch thick. You know, more or less. If you go too deep and it hits the meat, that's okay. Just keep thinning it out, and that's it. I'm going to go fat side down on the Traeger. Some people go fat side up. I go fat side down. Those are my best results. I'll put the meter probe in the center core of that flat where it's kind of sitting on the point there, and then I'll put the beef fat on there to make some tallow because that's going to go into the wrap. And so yes, we smoke all year long, snow, rain, wind, whatever. And so it's about a 10 to 12 hour process when I go 225 degrees. This is 225 for about 10 to 12 hours. And then you can see the bark is setting up. We're sitting at about 170 internal. And then now it's time to wrap. So get the table cleaned off. And some people wrap in butcher paper. Some people wrap in aluminum foil. I prefer foil. A lot of people in the comment section will be like, oh, this is where you're braising it. I don't care what you wrap it in. You're speeding up the cooking, you're braising it. So I just prefer foil. About 2 cups of beef broth, and I'll throw about a cup of beef tallow over the top of the brisket. Cover that back up. So 225 for the first 10 to 12 hours. Once you think your bark is set up, and then 275 in the wrap. You can speed up the temp because it's not getting any smoke at that point. So that'll be in the wrap for about 2 to 3 hours. And I want to hit my, 203, 205, 207, depending on when probe tender. And you can just take a skewer or anything to poke that. Once there's very little resistance, like you see there, it's done. Lightly cover it up. Put it in an ice chest or an unlit oven to rest for an hour or two. And this is the end result. You can see nothing wrong with the bark, the way I wrapped it and the way I braised it. You can see how bendy and flexible this bad boy is without shredding. You know that's going to be a very, very tender brisket. So now it's just kind of cutting it. I usually cut it down the middle, put that point aside. And here's a very thin slice. It's very telling that the brisket is cooked almost perfectly because it's not shredding. Get into that flat. You can see the juices in that flat. It's a very well smoked brisket. So there is a quick tutorial for you all.